everybody. So we're back for another review of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I just want to thank once again everybody who subscribes to the channel, who likes the videos, who leaves comments. And please continue to do that. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're watching this. I really appreciate the support. Okay, so we're back for another episode. Not about to KeKe and Ha season 6, episode 22. Okay. This episode should have been cut into 30 minutes, and that cookout scene was all too long. Nevertheless, here we go. All right. So, meanwhile, back at the cookout brouhaha that went down, Marceau is basically telling on KeKe, like I said, to Kimmy. And Marceau said, call the police and get her drug tested, this, that, and the other. Is that how that works? Right. Okay, so KeKe and her husband, were ready to fight, okay? And Kimmy starts to kick them out, basically of their yard, because they threw drank on on Tisha. Okay, that has got to be, you really got to be from the South to really know what that means. All right, so Martell says that women talk about any and everything, and that's why they always have so much drama. And I was like, Martell, you gossip like a bitch, okay? And then they played, and they played you when they played that beautiful beam footage back, okay, of all the mess you done been in. Anyway, so it was Mel for me, though. When KeKe and had to leave. When she said, Maurice, I'm really sorry that this happened. Pause. At your home. See, that's why I keep people away from that is such an asshole thing to do. I died, okay? Because that was one of the snarkiest I'm sorry's I've heard in a while, okay? While she strutted, okay, back to the car with Nell and Chris's money from the card game, okay? And you know Mel came for a scene because she walking around in grass, in heels. She looked cute, but I'm just saying, she walking around in grass. Did y'all catch when she asked Tisha if she needed another shirt? Because it was wet, but I feel like that was also a dig. That was going to be a dig at Marceau if she had to wear one of Mel's shirts. I caught it, Mel. I caught it. You ain't slick. So Kimmy and Maurice said Amin should have basically removed KeKe before she got angry. I guess. Whatever. So he was like, Maurice was like, that's the duty of a husband. Her husband was defending her as far as Kimmy is concerned when she's in the wrong. And I honestly think he was defending KeKe from Marceau yelling and saying she needed to be drug tested. Okay, and I don't care what nobody says. This is clearly something that has been revving up. Okay, this is not just a one-time incident. Like I said last week, I could tell by the kind of rage that KeKe had. She's hurt about something. Okay, so Mel comes to calm KeKe down at the end of the driveway and just tells her, okay, well, first of all, breathe. And Mel did tell her right. Mel was like, you were wrong. Like, she didn't, him and her. And she asked her, like, what could you have done differently? Because, Mel, once again, was, taking Nell and Fletcher's money. She was too busy. I call him Fletcher. I don't know why, because I guess I know a million Chris's. Anyway, so Marceau and Tisha have tried to chalk this up to KeKe's jealousy for Tisha's life. Okay? I'm not really buying that one. Basically because it's clear KeKe is doing pretty well herself. And simply because people don't have certain things doesn't mean that they're jealous. I mean, it very well may be, but that may not be the issue. There's not enough proof either way for me. So, not speaking to her was disrespectful. So simply being, if they weren't disrespecting me out loud, why did I disrespect them out loud? Yeah, she could have walked away. But it was intended to disrespect her. I mean, I'm kind of like, no, KeKe, you should not have thrown drink on her. But I just don't think this is the whole story. Okay. Tisha is passive aggressive. And they talk shit about KeKe a lot on TV, which I think is also why she's angry. And maybe she didn't mean Tisha any harm by just trying to let her know. Maybe she didn't know that Tisha had already gotten contacted by that guy to talk to her about what was going on around about Marceau. All right. So it could be a lot of things. Whatever it was, this scene went on too goddamn long. So I'm with Mel. It has to be more to the story. So Mel is checking on everybody. She checked on Tisha and Marceau. And Mel, we know you were being messy and nosy. And Stormy was being messy and nosy too. Because the fact that she was willing to sit beside Mel, even though her and Mel ain't even talked to each other, to find out what was going on with Tisha and Marceau at their table. We know they full of shit. Anyway, Tiffany's messy ass shows up just in time to miss the fight, which is good because she would have made that shit so much worse. All right, so Tiffany came with the baby as her plus one and says it's because Lou is doing what he always does, and that's coaching baseball. Bitch, get the fuck out of here. Do you like to eat every day? Do you like to have a roof over your head? And I'm not trying to be mean because granted, I live in New York. I don't even have a house, okay? I live in an apartment. Nevertheless, I take care of me. So my thing is, you have a small child. Nobody knows what you do. So we're just going to have to take it that this show is your job, which is still a job. But I'm saying you act like you were just so booked and so busy. So as far as I'm concerned, Lou is making money for the family. You have a new baby. That house y'all living didn't look like, it doesn't look like Mel's. And I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but y'all got to keep it. And sometimes that means people got to work. Like, I don't understand why she's being such a bitch. But most of the time she's a bitch and I don't get it. Anyway, so get the fuck out of here. All right, so Jalen pulls up with the Jeep. Okay, I didn't know that was Jalen driving it because I couldn't tell who it was. And Kimmy is so excited. I'm glad she got her car. Did y'all notice how all the men went to see her car and hear the engine and stuff? And the women just weren't interested. And maybe Mel caught one of that. Maybe that's why Mel went over there and started turning up with Kimmy eventually. I don't think women get excited when other women get cars in the same way that a man finds a car interesting or whatever. Unless it's their car. Nevertheless, yeah, that scene also went on too long. Kimmy jumping up and down with I'm glad you got it, girl. But this cookout thing, I just wish they would have wrapped it up. So Letitia's cousin, whose name is apparently Courtney, I swear, if everybody doesn't have an M name, they have the same damn names on this show. Like, what is going on in Alabama? Like, what? Why can't y'all just diversify it a little bit? Anyway, but Courtney, Letitia's cousin, not Courtney, Stormy's husband, okay? One's a woman and one's a man. So, and she was like, I heard about the rumors too, though, Tisha. Maybe there is something there. And she said this shit in Marceau's face too. So Tiffany is saying that she's not surprised KeKe and Tisha have a situation. And she said that shit with a smile on her face. And I was just like, she is such a bitch. Okay? You don't like KeKe, fine. But you also said some fucked up shit. Pretended like you didn't know her. All this other stuff from y'all sons playing sports, which is apparently all Lou likes to do and all Amin likes to do. Like, that's part of their lifestyle. So when you try to act like you didn't know her, that was bitchy, it was rude, and it was mean. Whatever. Okay? So Mel was like, they show her in the confessional. You tell me Mel got a little spruce up. Anyway, but she was like, over time, we've seen Tisha, okay? And we've seen her go with whatever story she wants to go with. And that's whatever her husband tells her. She was like, now, we can't be mad if that's what she wants to do. But she can't be mad at us if we don't believe it. I said, damn. These have got to be the messiest shit. So Marceau admitted that he did call KeKe a dopehead. And Mel was like, that's wrong. Stormy was like, that's wrong. So on and so forth. And he said he was mad. He wanted to make Amin mad because basically she had done something to his wife. So Stormy is like, was that why you tried to say essentially slick shit to Courtney? By saying stuff to us, like calling him Mr. Steele when you know that's not his last name or whatever. And Marceau was like, well, you call me a bitch. Marceau, how long you been holding on to that? How long? And Tisha, you there sitting there looking real silent. And it's coming off as, and I know some people are quiet, and I'm not trying to judge Tisha, because honestly, you don't ever know what somebody's going through. But Tisha, you really come off like a weak person, because you're sitting around saying, well, I can't mess with nobody, ain't got nothing to lose. KeKe has a family. KeKe has a name. KeKe is living in a small town. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful with that. And I do know that, yes, you do need to mess and be around people that have the same or more as you. People will still be jealous, but to be careful with that. But tides can always change. And just like y'all have kids, while I wouldn't wish any of that on anybody's child, drug use is an addiction. And an addiction, according to the Center for Disease Control, is a disease. And it could be anybody at any time. And so I understood what Tisha's cousin was trying to say. Like, there are other ways to get at people. And particularly getting at people in front of other people just wasn't the move. Y'all could have said hello and just, whatever. So then Maurice's punk bitch ass, anytime he was like, well, anytime a woman calls a man a bitch, she's trying to trigger him. She's trying to trigger him. He just kept saying that with that corny ass homecoming hat on. I can't take it. It's the old man 45, 50 plus hat that everybody wears to their HBCU homecoming at that age. Anyway, okay, but I was like, trigger him to do what? Trigger him to do what? Anytime a man calls a woman a bitch, he's trying to trigger her. The word has been weaponized to degrade women. And what men are essentially saying, these men particularly at the table, is that women are allowed to be degraded and we're not. You have to respect us men. And Martell's fucking bitch ass. I'm telling you, I got all kinds of questions about Martell. But anyway, he gonna give his opinion like he didn't fuck up his marriage on TV for all of us to see. All right, anyway, so Marceau does act like a bitch. He does. And so does Martell and Maurice. Okay, when they said the issue is that Marceau's wife didn't say anything to Stormy in front of Stormy, okay, calling him a bitch. And I'm like, probably because it's true. Maybe that's why Tisha didn't say nothing. But it's a man's job to defend himself. The fact that y'all threw this on Tisha was a bitch move. And that's why I say Tisha just looks weak. She just not the kind of person that I just think doesn't really take up for herself. And as far as I'm concerned, Tisha can't, I don't know, fight when someone throws a drink on her. So she can't be taken up for Marceau. Like, miss me with the bullshit. Maybe Marceau should quit picking fights with women. Damn. So Kimmy, I'm disappointed in you. And like I said, I appreciate Kimmy sharing her journey and everything with breast cancer because I know how important that is. I'm glad that it inspired a lot of women, particularly Black women, and particularly in that area of Alabama, to actually go and get checkups. That being said, Kimmy, you kind of looking like a pick-me a little bit. You giving a little bit of that. So Tisha's cousin, the way she was like, well, if a man would have called her that, it would have been a whole different story. Yeah, it would have been. Just like if a Black person uses the N word, it's a little different. It's actually very different than when a white person using it. We know it is not meant as a fucking compliment. Okay, so miss me with the trying to put this on the same level playing field. Marceau could also quit acting like a bitch. Anyway, so Tisha's cousin Courtney was like, if you want to talk about her drug problem, then y'all should talk to her and not to put it in the public eye, because essentially this ended up on TV. Now, KeKe did choose to be on this show, but they also chose to expose that. And when I say Tisha's passive aggressive, I think she was mad because she showed him on camera with Mel, and she was not fucking with Mel. I do think that's part of it. Then Kimmy says, well, when she threw a drink, she did that to Tisha in the public eye because the cameras were around. Yes, Kimmy, but which one came first? Them exposing her drug problem on TV or her throwing this drink? Right. Okay. So Marceau is making comments about, oh, you couldn't tell something's wrong with her by her makeup. And I was thinking to myself, bitch, motherfucker, why are you worried about how her makeup looks? First of all, I didn't see nothing wrong with her makeup. And I'd be damned if I want to be with a man that want to call out concealer and highlights and eyeshadow. Miss me. Okay, because that's a man I'd be embarrassed of. And I don't want to be with no man that I'm embarrassed of. Okay? Okay. Anyway, and what he did to help KeKe while she was on drugs and to go and pick her up off the street because something was wrong. And maybe he does feel like she's ungrateful about what he did. Regardless, a lot of this should have stayed private. It really should have. If KeKe wanted to come out and say, hey, I know what it is to have an addiction and can y'all help? And this is what I want to use this show for, fine. But y'all weaponized this against her and it was fucked up. And Mel and them, when they told KeKe what Marcel and Tisha had been saying, didn't help. They didn't help. And I'm talking about like last season didn't help when that stuff came out. All right. So anyway, this was one of them long ass messy cookouts talking about the same old fucking thing. So Mel got up and left in the middle of the conversation, just said, thank you, Kimmy and Maurice. This was awesome. I don't blame her. Enough of that shit is enough. Honestly, I don't think that's why she left, but that would have been my reason because I don't want to hear the same shit over and over again that I just witnessed. Okay. Honestly, the cookout should have probably dispersed after that, and Kimmy should have just drove in her Jeep and had fun and then came back and packed her shit and left Maurice. Anyway. Poor Chris Fletcher is sitting there like, Nell, can we go home? But because Nell makes the decisions because I messed up in our marriage once, I'm not going to say I'm bored and tired and want to go home. I'm just going to wait until she tells me I can go home and lay in my bed. Anyway, so Stormy like brings up that she thought it was a low blow to go after KeKe's drug problem. And it was. It was. Okay. And Stormy was like, you know, KeKe is in recovery. And Marcel was like, Stormy, have you ever seen anybody on drugs? And she was like, yes. And she was like, my best friend. And she helps take care of my son. So Marcel goes, well, why does she live with you now? Why does she live with you now? I didn't know her best friend lived with her. Maybe I missed that or whatever. And Stormy got really upset. And not simply upset, like she was crying. And I know those kind of tears when somebody has triggered. Her feelings were really hurt. And I was like, y'all better be ready for Hurricane Courtney. That's what I was thinking. Because she got really upset. Now, Marcel did apologize. And I think he was just kind of talking shit. Like, I don't think he really meant to go there. And he really did apologize, you know, for making her cry or whatever. But that's the thing. Because drug use is one of those things. Nobody wants to see any member of their family on drugs or suffering from a mental health issue. And that's why I really try to, you know, anytime I see somebody on a train, particularly, especially in New York, going to work, come back from work, somebody who's homeless, you know, I just say a prayer for them. And I say a prayer for them because I don't always have cash on me. I'm not the kind of person when I do give homeless people money, you know, like, oh, I'll go buy you something. No, shit, they already homeless. Just give it or don't give it. And, you know, I pray for those people because I know they weren't always like that. I know they were somebody's child at some point. I know they struggle. And I know it's not easy to make a living or a life in a place like New York, even when you have a job. And just as sure as it can be somebody else, it can be you. So I just say that to say you have to be really careful because this can happen to any of us. In any of our families. And if that was my family, if that was one of my siblings, I would be infuriated. So that's why you got to be careful because you don't know who else you may be hurting. Not just simply offending, but really hurting by doing that. And it was just so natural. I really felt bad for Stormy. So, but anyway, Chris and Nell walked her to the car because she decided she wanted to go. So I guess she called Courtney too because she was upset. Which I think was best that Chris and Nell followed her to her car. Because I was sure Courtney was going to jump out of that car and go fuck somebody up. All right. Because Chris is probably the only one that Courtney even respects enough not to fuck up. I think anybody else can get it. Okay. Without any questions or appropriate answers. Anyway, they keep talking about KeKe at the table. At some point, editing needs to stop this bullshit. Leave us, please. Next scene, we get it. All right. So Courtney Beasley. Okay. You notice they put that in there. A little headline, meets Chris and Martell at the gym or whatever. So I was like, why doesn't Martell just become a personal trainer so he can find a job? So he can stop playing around in gardens telling us it's a house lot. Like, just stop. If he's going to help other people lose weight, like he was trying to help Marceau and now Courtney. And I've heard of this with athletes because they're so used to always running and being on the go that a lot of times when they retire from that everyday thing, a lot of that muscle just turns into fat. Not even because they're necessarily eating wrong. It's just their body's used to keeping up a certain level of metabolism that eats up the fat. Anyway, so I'm just watching this, waiting for Chris to ask Martell when is he getting out of that house. I'm waiting for it, right? And I'm waiting this whole scene, but it comes. So Martell asks, what did your wife tell you about the cookout? Martell, you are such a messy schoolgirl. Anyway, then he still asks, he goes, Courtney was like, well, what did Marceau do? And then Courtney was like, see, I don't like his energy. And he's always taking jabs at my wife and other women, and that's why I don't fuck with him, essentially. So Chris was like, have you sat down with him? Have you had a conversation with him and just made it directly clear? Don't do this to me. And he was like, no. And I was thinking to myself, he kind of did when he rolled up at Black, but Marceau is a bitch. He's a bitch. So Chris said, well, maybe you should have a conversation with him and let him know, don't play with me like that. And he said, and if he keeps going after that, then it is what it is. Basically, if you fuck him up after that, he's been okay, whatever. All right, and so according to some small town talk, Fletcher and Courtney may be related. On TV, don't ever do that side by side again. That does not determine how cousins look alike or don't look alike. We are not talking about father and son. We not talking about brother and sister. Cut it out. All right. So anyway, Chris told him, he asked Martell, what have you been doing? He was like, man, you know what I've been doing. I was like, no, he don't. If you ain't moved out that house, then we don't even know if you packed, Martell. Okay. So Chris told him he can go to Sheree's house, Mel's house, and in his confessional with that 3-piece deacon suit on he had, he was like, I don't give a damn where Martell goes, just up out this house. Facts. But Mel ain't gonna let him in. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I can tell you right now, Mel gonna call the police on his black ass. Go stay with your mama, Martell. Just something, because this is not a good look. So KeKe and Amin are at storage, okay? And this is how we know that cookout scene went on, because I'm now at the end of the episode. It went on too long. So they're at storage to get some stuff for their house and moving, deciding what they need to give away, whatever. So she's getting stuff for the computer room, Christmas decorations. I saw her walk out with a hairdryer. I said, clearly, y'all just trying to get stuff. Okay. Anyway, moving to pain in the ass, by the way. So is it just me, or do y'all have to do a double take when y'all see KeKe in the confessional? Because I always have to stop and go, is that Tisha or is that KeKe? I'm so glad their names don't begin with the same letter. I don't know what to do, because I would always get them mixed up. I get them mixed up now. So they're moving across town because their oldest son needs to be on a good football team for offense, according to Amin. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, education comes first. I think activities are great. But I don't think that's worth moving for. And clearly, KeKe and Tisha deal with their husbands the same way. That he can make a decision about them moving, not consult with you, and then y'all buy a different house. Right. Okay. So Mel calls her while they're at storage or whatever and stops by clearly to shoot a small scene. All right. So Mel said, look, I just came to check on you because she said, honestly, I've never seen Amin get out of character. I remember when him and KeKe were having that back and forth just in the kitchen. And I just noticed how he kept himself together, how he was very poised when talking to his wife. And when she got upset, like, he apologized, even though I didn't think he was even wrong. But it just said to me that he had a sense of maturity and that he knew how to act like a man. Okay, that's what it said to me. And Amin was like, look, I didn't want to do all that rah-rah stuff in Maurice's house. I really didn't want to take it there. And I'm sorry, because I would never want to do that. They're cool. They're fine. I wasn't trying to do that. And Mel said, well, they were talking about how much they liked you and stuff at the cookout. They did talk about y'all after it left. And she said that they hated that this happened. And because Tisha was like, I really like Amin. And Amin was like, no, she don't. Oh, shit, what? And Mel was like, no, that can't be true. Because KeKe was like, nope, that is true. Because she's had a problem with him for as long as they were dating. For some reason, I can't remember when or where. But I remember KeKe saying that before. And I was like, damn, I can see that. And the reason why I can see it is not because I just think Tisha's a bitch or anything, but I can see Tisha having kids, having a husband, and that being the way that she's managed to get attention and respect in her family. Like, I may be, weak. I may be a housewife, but at least I got a man, I got kids, I got stuff y'all don't have. And if KeKe has it too, it makes it appear a little less unobtainable. How about that? And that is something that is weaponized against women, and especially black women, in society and certainly in families. I know Thanksgiving is coming up. Anyway, and, I mean, my family's gotten better over time, but I'm just saying. All right, so, and Mel's messy ass keeps encouraging it. And he was like, that's phony for her to say that. And I can believe it. But Mel, you are being messy. But, and you was being messy because you came up to storage with a drug test. Like, how did that happen? Girl, bye. So KeKe and Amin were like, they have not talked to them since the cookout. She was like, absolutely not. And she was like, I don't think it's necessary. She was like, I just think we need to move on. And honestly, I get it. I don't think there's anything left to say when it gets that far, because it's just going to go up. It's just going to escalate. Although I don't know how you all are going to manage to avoid each other in Huntsville, but nevertheless, okay then. But if y'all, and especially since y'all are on the same cast for a show in this one horse-drawn carriage town, but look, everybody aspires to something. Some people aspire to stay away from their family. I hope y'all move no closer to Tisha and Marceau, though, because that's going to be a mess. So Marceau, they played the footage, has come at KeKe several times about her drug problem. And he did, and I forgot about that dinner when Miss Wanda was honestly, shit, might as well have been the reasonable one. And KeKe said, look, I don't have remorse for where we are in our relationship, but I do have remorse for what I did. Okay. So Mel told them that they were joking about her drug problem. See, Mel, they was going to see the show anyway, but okay. And KeKe was like, that's typical. And that's the way Marceau deflects. KeKe was like, see, I've admitted to my stuff. I know I was addicted to drugs. But essentially, Marceau hasn't addressed any of his stuff. Facts. I cannot argue with that, KeKe. I couldn't argue with it. So Mel was like, we should shut them down and take a drug test. She was like, and I have one. Ma'am, what CVS, Walgreens, Dwayne Reed did you stop by on the way there? And why did you think that shit was necessary? I get why KeKe doesn't want to do that. She was like, if he'll take a lie detector test, then those things are not used in court for a reason. And the way Marceau lies to people and lies to himself, he may come out clean. Okay? And Tisha ain't going nowhere if he does. I'm sorry. I'm just being real. I would totally get why somebody wouldn't want to do that. And honestly, I'd be offended that Mel even did that. Because people are going to still say what they want to say. Do what they want to do. All right. So that's all I got to say. I will talk to y'all soon. Thank you for those of you who viewed the Silver Dollar Road documentary, because I think that's a really important story to tell. And I really encourage you all to take a look at it, because these things, just like I always say, if it affects one of us, it'll affect all of us. All right, but y'all have a great week, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Happy Halloween.